Chapter 17, A Real Chinese Person Book. Making a book was a lot harder than saying I would make one. When I told Mrs. McCurdy that I wanted to make a book with a Chinese American person in it, she was very excited. That's a wonderful idea, she told me. Why don't you write about yourself? You're a Chinese American, and if you write your own experiences, your book is sure to be very unique. Ms. McCurdy said over and over again that she wanted us to make books with unique and original ideas. She always tried to make us write stories from our own lives. Write what you know, she kept telling us. But most of us didn't seem to know much because we weren't doing very original ideas. Charlotte wrote a story that sounded a lot like Cinderella, except instead of two stepsisters, there was only one. Becky's story was a lot like the unicorn movie we watched. Melody was doing an original idea, though. Her book was about flowers that talk to each other. She got the idea from our science fair project. She said since she learned plants had tastes like people, she'd write a story about them talking like people too. But even with an original idea, I still didn't know what to write about. I knew I wanted it to be about a Chinese person, and Miss McCurdy wanted me to write about my life, but I couldn't think of a part of my life to write about. There was just nothing exciting in my life. Maybe that was why there were no real Chinese people in books. We all had boring lives. I watched the rest of the class write their stories. I drew little pictures of dogs reading books. My mind was like an empty paper balloon. Miss McCurdy stopped by my desk. Writer's block, she asked me. What's writer's block? I asked. It's when a writer can't think of what to write about. When you can't think of any words to write, she told me. I nodded my head hard. I definitely was having writer's block. What's the cure for it? I asked. You just have to relax and not try so hard, Miss McCurdy said, and wait. Well, that was disappointing. Isn't there something I could do to make it disappear sooner? I asked her. Don't worry, Miss McCurdy told me. You'll find an idea. It will come to you. But I'd worried. Finding a book idea was like finding myself, and I wasn't having much luck with either. Chapter 18, The School Play. At the same time as the book project, we were also working on The Wizard of Oz. There were rehearsals every week. Since I was only a munchkin, I thought rehearsals were pretty boring. I should have signed up for the orchestra like you, I told Melody. Who ever heard of a Chinese munchkin? That's not why I signed up for the orchestra, Melody said. Besides, no one will see you probably. That's true, I said, thinking about all the kids that were munchkins on stage. All we did was stand around and sing songs. But one day, Miss Malone said, right before the song, we need a munchkin to give Dorothy a thank you gift for killing the Wicked Witch. Grace, we'll have you do it. Me? But then everyone would see me. What if I handed Dorothy the gift and everyone in the audience whispered to each other, a Chinese munchkin? There's no such thing as a Chinese munchkin. I tried to say something, but Miss Malone had hurried on to the Cowardly Lion. That day when I got home from school, Mom asked me what was wrong. Uh-oh, Mom said, you have a grumpy face. What's wrong today? Miss Malone made me the munchkin that gives Dorothy the gift, I said. Isn't that good, Mom asked. Now you have a part that's more special. No, I told her. It's horrible. It's so stupid that she picked me. Why is it stupid, Mom asked. I would think you'd be proud. Now everyone will see me, I said. Before, no one would notice me, but now I'll stick out. People will say, Grace is a munchkin? And then they'll laugh at me. Everyone is going to laugh at me. Mom said. You sound like I did before my first day of school. Did I ever tell you about that? Mom's first day of school. The night before my first day of school, my mother told me that Amma, my grandmother, was going to bring me. Now remember, Amma grew up during a time when women bound their feet to make them smaller. Binding their feet did make them smaller, but oh, how painful it was to walk on them. So because it was so difficult for Amma to walk, it was decided that Amma would walk me to school and wait outside for me all day until it was time to bring me back so she wouldn't have to make an extra trip. Now, was I grateful for Amma's sacrifice? No, I was embarrassed. What would my classmates think of me when my grandmother walked me to school and sat all day in the schoolyard waiting for me? They would think I was a baby who needed someone nearby all the time. I pleaded and begged for my parents to let me go alone or for someone else to bring me, but they refused. The next day I dreaded going to school. Usually I liked walking with Alma. Unlike walking with my mother or father, whose large steps made me hop like a rabbit, Alma always walked slowly and deliberately, picking her steps like the way you choose peaches at the market. But today, I hated walking with Alma. I dragged my feet as if they were stuck to the ground with honey. I hoped that by getting to school late, no one would see Alma walking with me. On the way, we met up with another student, a round-faced boy named Xiao Jie, who was walking with his grandmother as well. He scowled at me with fierce anger, and I started to feel that school was going to be a very unhappy and unfriendly place. The bell was ringing when we finally reached the school. So far, my plan was working. I hoped that no one noticed Alma as I left her outside. But my relief was short-lived because as soon as my classmates sat down in their seats, Xiao Jie made a noise like a tea kettle. "Look out the window," he laughed and pointed. I was horrified. Was this terrible boy pointing at Alma and laughing at her? I joined my classmates at the window, and then I started laughing too. Outside in the schoolyard sat a whole row of grandmothers. They sat there like a line of birds on a telephone wire, gossiping and sharing tea. Everyone's grandmother was out there. I didn't need to feel embarrassed about Alma waiting for me the whole day, Mom finished, because everyone else's grandmother was doing the same thing. "But it's not the same with the play," I said. "Isn't it though?" Mom asked. "You're so worried about your part. You aren't seeing that there's nothing to worry about." "Maybe," I said, but I did feel better.